Today on The Big Story, shocking outburst of violence in Hong Kong with one man set on fire, another shot by police. PMD says the next general election is about the future leadership of Singapore. And finally, the debate goes on following the e-scooter ban. Hello and welcome to The Big Story, where we discuss the top news of today and explain why it matters. I'm Haryanto Diman, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. A man was set on fire in a shocking attack as anti-government violence escalated across Hong Kong today. Now, the alleged attack was captured on video, but we're not going to show it because it is too graphic. Now, earlier today, an officer shot a protester during these morning clashes. A 21-year-old man was taken to the hospital and is reported to be in critical condition. The incident happened after 7 a.m. in the Sai Wan Ho district, east of Hong Kong's main island, where protesters had heeded a call to block roads and build barricades. Footage showed a police officer drawing his sidearm as he tried to detain a masked man at a blocked road junction. Another masked man then approached the officer and was apparently shot. He fell to the ground, clutching his left side. Joining us via Skype from Hong Kong to give us the latest updates to the situation, there is regional correspondent Elizabeth Law. Welcome, Liz.
Hi.
Hi, Liz. Liz, if you could share with us, what is the situation like there right now?
Well, so what we do know is that as of 2 p.m. today, we do know that some 40 people have been taken to hospital, of which four were in a serious condition, and one is in a critical condition. Now, the man who was shot, he is in a serious condition after he had an operation, because we do know that his liver and his kidneys were affected, but after the operation it was fine. The other man that has been in a critical condition, it was because he was set on fire. So as you can see from behind me, I am now in Wan Chai, where protesters have come to after being in the central business district where they were protesting, and police had gone and fired tear gas. So they sort of moved back and forth between the business district and Admiralty before coming to Wan Chai. But shortly before this call started, they have moved on. So we have no idea where they are now.
Liz, now the protests have been going on for 5 months. There were calls for a strike and a class boycott today. Did many people heed the call?
Well, certainly more people heeded the call today than the previous occasion where hardly anyone came out. So today they started very early in the morning. They started at about 5:30, and by early morning we had about 10 areas that had been affected by people who were barricading roads, who were causing disruptions to the MTR system. So basically, people were now being prevented from going to work and to school. In fact, 3 universities had cancelled classes because they said of the transport disruptions, and a lot of these big companies that are in the central business district including HSBC Bank, told their workers to leave early because of the traffic disruption. And of course, at lunchtime, you can see from this video that I shot earlier, lots of people came out, hundreds, in fact maybe even thousands came out and took to the streets to again repeat their 5 demands.
Thank you, Liz.
So, yes.
Now, thank you, Liz, for the latest updates on the Hong Kong protests. Now, as always, do keep safe while you are there. Now, for more on this story as it continues to unfold, stay tuned to our website at straitstimes.com. Now, you can also follow Liz on Twitter for the latest updates. Now, moving on to our second segment, the next general election will decide if Singapore can sustain a good and stable government that can safeguard the well-being of Singaporeans, said Prime Minister Hsien Loong yesterday. Addressing 2,500 People's Action Party activists at the PAP65 Awards and Convention, he called on them to continue working hard to convince Singaporeans to give the ruling party the mandate to lead the country again in the upcoming election. In his speech, Mr. Lee summarized what the PAP government has done to improve the people's lives, like creating better jobs for workers and improving the public transport network. He also outlined what the party has to do to retain the electorate's trust, from being upfront with Singaporeans, giving people hope for the future, and ensuring unity and social cohesion. Additionally, Mr. Lee highlighted that the PAP had been frank with Singaporeans on hot-button and unpopular issues, even though there may be a political price to pay. These include the need to raise the goods and services tax after the election and amendments to the elected presidency. We have news editor Zakir Hsien in the studio now to tell us more. Welcome, Zakir.
Hi. Yep.
Zakir, if you could just start us off, what stood out for you the most in his speech?
I think it was PM's touching on the external environment and how, it's not the first time Singapore's heading into a general election with, such a turbulent global climate. We've had previous elections, during recessions and downturns. But I think in recent years, this has taken particular urgency. You've got Brexit, you've got the election of Donald Trump, and then you've got widespread discontent and protests around the world. And I think Hong Kong is just a manifestation of that.
Right.
And PM, I think, issued this warning that, we can't assume that these global pressures and forces won't affect Singapore. And he tried to make a pitch to Singaporeans of what's at stake in this election. I think outsiders are watching, and, I think they would react otherwise. I think one thing they want to look out for is whether there's Singaporeans actually back the government of the day strongly or not. And I think PM also highlighted, in a way, his speech at the party convention usually sets out the big picture and the key agenda for the party to focus on in the year ahead, or the next few months in this case. And I think he was quite clear about three things the PAP had to do this election. I think one was maintaining the trust of people in them, and that's not something they take lightly. And this includes being, whiter than white, having integrity, and so on. But the other thing is also giving them hope for the future, and I think this is illustrated by sort of Merdeka Generation Package over the years, the great emphasis on preschool education and addressing issues like inequality. And the third factor was also ensuring that, unity and social cohesion. And this includes taking some unpopular decisions like, making changes to the constitution to ensure that minorities have a chance to, be represented in the office of the president. And even though this was unpopular, PM said this was the right thing to do. And I think he also gave the promise that the PAP was a party that would be upfront with voters and, present the choices, but it would, act in what it felt was the right way for the country.
Now, apart from PM's speech, of course, the other almost exciting and interesting thing was the 4 younger party activists. Now, they shared their experiences growing up in Singapore at the convention. Can you tell us more on that? Who are they? And are they potential election candidates?
I think traditionally the folks who speak at PAP conventions have always been possible election candidates. But who the party feels, of course, is only finalized closer to the election day. But as in previous years, I think all 4 are quite likely potential candidates, I'd say. And they were they, I think, highlighted different themes of what the party will likely emphasize in the coming months as it heads into the election. So first you had lawyer Alex Yeo from Aljunied GRC, actually, who spoke about building trust and the uphill work, trying to regain residents' confidence in an opposition ward. And we recently had the AHTC motion debated in Parliament. And I think he emphasized the importance of integrity and being sincere on the ground. You then had lawyer Wan Rizal from Pasir Ris Punggol GRC and lawyer Kawal Pal Singh from Marine Parade GRC. Interestingly, both were from the normal stream. And they spoke about the opportunities they had and the need to ensure these opportunities remain there for the next generation. Both have done well. I mean, both are, late 30s, early 40s. Wan Rizal is a poly lecturer. And Kawal Singh was a lawyer who kind of went the hard route, from normal technical to ITE, where he learned it, picked up skills and discovered his passion for the law. And they're all volunteers on the ground. And last you had CEO Rachel Loong from West Coast GRC, who spoke about giving back and the importance of volunteering. So I think these are themes the party wants to highlight, and I think you'll see them as more candidates and new faces come up in the coming weeks and months. You'll see some of the themes repeated, I think.
And so, that said, I think this is a question that's weighing on a lot of people's mind. Do we have an inkling of when the next general election is or will be taking place?
Given we've got about 7 more weeks to the end of the year, I think it's not likely to be in December at all. But at the same time, it's not likely to be in the first 3 months of next year either. And I think DPM Heng, who spoke before PM Lee, said there would be a GST support package to cushion the impact of a GST rise, which the government will carry out sometime between 2021 and 25.
Right.
And so, the budget traditionally takes place in February. All indications are it will likely be in mid-February this year. And after the budget, you will have the budget debated for 2 weeks by MPs in Parliament.
Right.
So I think the earliest Parliament can be dissolved for the election will likely be in late March, early April.
Okay.
So that's a possible window. May is a possibility, but it clashes with Ramadan, and I think they might not take that option. June is another window, I think, because you have the school holidays, so it's traditionally when people campaign. But these days, a lot of people are out of town during the school holidays, so they might want to do it, April seems like a likely window, I'd say.
So you would say the earliest window would seem to be April next year?
Yes.
Or whatever it is, it has to be done by 2021.
By April 2021.
April 2021.
But I think given that, the Electoral Boundaries Committee has been convened, I think people are expecting its report to be out anytime early next year.
Right.
So, they might not wait all the way till April 2021.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Zakir, for coming on to the show to tell us more about this and, of course, give us some tea leaf prediction as to when would the election take place, the earliest window. And, of course, according to Zakir, our news editor, he's saying that the earliest possible window would be April next year. Now, to read more on PM Lee's speech as well as everything that happened at the convention, you can read the articles on straitstimes.com. Now, on to What's Trending, where Dylan will take us through the top trending stories today. Dylan.
Thanks, Arianto. It's time to talk trending on What's Trending. For our first story, today has been the sales-boosting Singles Day, aka 11/11, or just plain old 11 of November. Singles Day has been promoted by Chinese giant Alibaba since 2009 and is quickly growing to become the world's biggest online sales event. Last year, Alibaba achieved a gross merchandise volume of $30.8 billion, outstripping the online revenue of the United States' biggest shopping days, Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and Cyber Monday combined. Alibaba even had pop star Taylor Swift perform last night at their 2019 gala to kick off the 24-hour shopping fest. Just within the first hour of Singles Day, Alibaba says it made $13 billion, which is up 32% from last year's early haul. Of course, Alibaba is not the only site with deals on offer, and there are still a few hours to go. Next up, a prominent Russian Napoleon expert has confessed to murdering and dismembering his 24-year-old lover and former student. 63-year-old Oleg Sokolov was arrested in St. Petersburg on Saturday after he was hauled out of the icy Moika River with a backpack containing a woman's arms. He was reportedly drunk when he fell in while trying to dispose of her body parts. He told investigators that he shot and killed Anastasia Yevchenko during an argument and then proceeded to saw off her head, arms and legs. Sokolov taught at St. Petersburg State University and is the author of books on French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. Both he and his girlfriend Yevchenko like to wear period costumes, with Sokolov dressing as Napoleon himself. Moving on, in Los Angeles Staples Center, YouTube stars KSI and Logan Paul entered the boxing ring for a second time for a grudge match dating back to the amateur bout in 2018. KSI and Paul, with a combined following of 40 million on YouTube, toughed it out in a 6-round thriller, with KSI emerging as the eventual winner on a split decision. Despite being physically much bigger, Paul lost due to forgetting the golden rule of boxing: don't hit a man when he's down. That did not stop Paul coming up with excuses for his loss, including that he had a cold. And lastly, for our last story, Singapore singer-actor Alif Aziz has been arrested after a drunken Orchard Road brawl early Sunday morning. A video showing the singer being handcuffed by police officers and shouting into his mobile phone has been shared online. The 28-year-old had been arrested for causing annoyance to the public when drunk under the Liquor Control Act. Alif first found fame as a 16-year-old and was the youngest contestant to win reality singing contest Anugerah organised by Malay TV channel Suria in 2007. He was in the news recently when he was facing 2 charges of theft. If you have a view on this or any of what's trending today, let us know in the comment section below. And if you've seen a story worth sharing, tag us at ST Big Story. Back to you, Haryanto.
Now, thanks, Dylan. That is certainly a lot of stories for what's trending. Certainly a lot of stories trending around the internetverse these past couple of days. Now, on to our last segment. While a $7 million package has been rolled out to help food delivery riders with electric scooters switch to other approved modes of transportation, e-scooter retailers are feeling they've been left high and dry. Now, following the surprise e-scooter ban that took effect last Tuesday, retailers told the Straits Times they were hit hard by the ban. One retailer has $1.5 million worth of e-scooters that he suddenly cannot sell, while another is closing all 3 of its sales outlets. Another retailer said he may have to retrench staff. Many retailers had stockpiled UL2272 e-scooters, confident that demand would surge. This was after the authorities announced only those e-scooters that are registered can be used in Singapore from July 1st. To tell us more, we have journalist Toh Ting Hui with us. Welcome, Ting Hui. Now, Ting Hui, as a start, could you elaborate on how badly are these e-scooter retailers affected by the surprising ban? You spoke to many of them. Tell us more on that.
So in terms of how they have affected, I think the worst case I've heard so far is the Mobot, one of the biggest retailers here. So they are expecting to lose about $1.5 million as a result of the ban. And this is due to all the stocks that they have in their warehouse. So actually, I think in the past few months, e-scooter retailers, they are hit hard by this problem because they have been stepping up their inventory, like increasing the stockpiles of the e-scooters.
Right.
Because in August, the government announced that it would move forward a deadline for devices with a safety certification to to allow only devices with a safety certification on the road. So I think it was moved to July next year. So in anticipation of that, a lot of retailers have started bringing in these certified devices. Just to put that into context, we have about 100,000 registered devices, e-scooters in Singapore, and I think the last update was that probably around 90% of them uncertified. So when you look at the numbers, you can see why they are thinking like, oh, maybe there are 90,000 e-scooter owners who want to change their e-scooters in the next few months before July. So that's why they have brought in more scooters. So with the ban, it's not a complete ban, it's a footpath ban. But looking at the number of the length of the footpath, the length of the cycling network in Singapore is not very long, 440 km. So effectively it's kind of a de facto ban because there's not so many places that you can use them. So obviously the demand will drop. So with this, right, with all their e-scooters, right, so they can't sell locally. Another option would be for them to export. But at this time of the year, the export market isn't that great for them also. Because like looking at where e-scooters are popular, you are looking at places like US and Europe. Southeast Asia is not so big yet. So to ship to US and Europe, other than paying a lot of taxes, because what I've heard is that for devices with batteries inside and stuff, it's quite hard to export. You have to go through some checks and then you have to pay quite a bit of taxes. And so other than that, looking at the timing, it's November now. And by the time you ship the shipment over to US and Europe, it's already past their Christmas season. So at that time, like demand will be expected to drop also, and it's also winter season, so you can't really ride an e-scooter out there. So yeah, both locally and internationally, they can't really move their devices at the moment.
And think, could these retailers tap on the financial assistance scheme that's been rolled out?
So for the scheme, it's targeted at food delivery riders, not them. So quite unlikely in the sense that because like the scheme still encourages people to trade in their e-scooters for electric bikes, bicycles, or the personal mobility aids. So reasonably, we can expect the retailers to benefit from selling either of these alternative modes of transport, but at the end of the day, it doesn't solve the problem of them having those unsold scooters on their hands. And for the retailers, what I've heard is that they don't have enough e-bikes on their hands to respond to this sudden change in policy, sudden change in demand. So it's not like they can bring in 1,000 over the next couple of months before the scheme ends on 31st December to respond to this demand. But I think at the end of the day, we should also, they are in quite a bad situation.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, some people are reasonably pointing out that their businesses, they should have anticipated some changes, and also like losses are part of this. Just that I think some of them, if you look at like the Mobots number, 1.5 million is quite a big number. So still feel a bit sorry for them.
Yeah, it's definitely a roadblock for them right there. Now, thank you, Ting Wei, for the sharing. Now, for more on the e-scooter ban as well as related stories, you can head over to our website at straitstimes.com. Now, those were the top stories for the day. For more news and video, of course, you can head to our website at straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm Haryanto Diman. Tune in to more stories on The Big Story tomorrow.